And now, from the capital city, it's Nightique with Edward St. Pay.
Thank you, Jim Pollard. I'm Edward St. Pay with Nightique. Welcome to the program. Well, in national news, Puerto Ricans in New York took to the streets to celebrate Devil's Night, the eve of Halloween, which is a traditional free-for-all mischief night. Street vendors sold churros, which is a tabular fried pastry wrapped in bacon, fried in pork fat, and then filled up with Jack Daniels. Of course, there were no survivors. Officials at the LA Unified School District are investigating reports that funds intended for audiovisual projects were instead used to make a porn film starring students playing car wash employees. The administration at Linda Lovelace High were at a loss to explain this behavior. Meanwhile, in news from Washington, Paul Ryan is now Speaker of the House. His first pledge is to get something passed. Of course, he likes to start off his speeches with a good joke. And finally, in Hollywood news, West Hollywood hosted its annual Halloween parade Saturday, featuring tens of thousands of wildly dressed street marchers. Most of the outfits were frightening and funny. The winner of the scariest costume went to a guy dressed as Khloe Kardashian, making your medical decisions for you. Well, of course, a great show tonight. David Hampton, the political writer for the Clarion Ledger, is with us. If you'd like to email me at edward@weathervision.com. We'd like to hear your thoughts. If you've got some guests you think we should interview, let me know. Email me, edward@weathervision.com. We'll be back with our show after this.
We'll be right back with more of Nightique after these messages.
This is our Gray's Box. It's a great way to snack. Fresh, tasty, and created using only the best ingredients. Choose from our range of over 90 delicious snacks. We'd like to invite you to try a hand-picked box for free. Go to grays.com and we'll send a free box directly to your office or home. It may even help you keep your hand out of the cookie jar.
Go to grays.com and enter the code GRAYS34 for a free box.
Grays.com. Snacking reinvented.
Ingalls Shipbuilding has pioneered the development and production of technologically advanced, highly capable warships for the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps for more than 75 years. Ingalls is Mississippi's largest manufacturing employer, and today Ingalls has an immediate need for more than 200 electricians at our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Apply today at www.buildyourcareer.com or call 888-935-1507.
And now back to more Nightique.
Well, we're proud to have David Hampton, the political writer from the Clarion Ledger for 36 years now, an independent consultant. David, thank you for being with us.
Good to be here.
It's a real pleasure to have you here, and the election statewide was has just ended. Let's talk a little bit about what happened across the state.
Sure. Republicans did very well. They swept most of the state offices except one. Attorney General Jim Hood won re-election, as he has for 4 times, and there was a strong effort by the Republicans to unseat him, and it failed. But the Republicans, of course, swept all the other statewide elective offices, and there were really no competitive candidates against them in those other offices, I believe.
The Attorney General's office, Jim Hood, he's a Democrat. Why is he a Democrat? I mean, everybody else in state government is a Republican. Jim Hood has steadfastly remained a
I think it's the part he entered politics at the time, and the part of the state he's from was the Democratic area of the state, and it still has a populist strain running through it. And but he also is. Mississippi politics has been more personal than partisan, than party label anyway. I think he rises above that to a great extent. He's a popular guy, he's a nice guy, he does a good job, he does his work, he loves what he does, and I think people recognize that and return him to office.
Yeah, it got sort of contentious there, kind of nasty, that campaign.
Yeah, it's the nature of campaigns now, and it did. The Republicans put a lot of money and a lot of effort into unseating him and failed at it, but it did get nasty toward the end.
Now, the South at one time was a Democratic, or let's say a Democrat stronghold, and over time that's shifted, and of course now Republicans have most of the state offices and such. When did that shift begin, and why did that happen?
It's been actually started in 1948 or 49 when Truman made efforts to integrate their armed forces. And you saw the creation of the Dixiecrat Party, conservative Southern Democrats, based around race. Then you saw the Kennedy campaign in '60. You saw actually pursuing black voters in the South, and then the Goldwater. Although Goldwater failed nationally, he won heavily in Mississippi, and you've seen a steady movement toward a partisan red South in politics, and of course Ronald Reagan and so forth.
So, how much does race play into politics?
Unfortunately, I think it plays the major role in the South, and always has. Mississippi politics has been based on race and region throughout its history, and this is the latest part of that, I believe.
So the Democrats are generally black voters versus white voters being Republican?
When you start having black Democrats, you start having white Republicans, so that's just the sad state of it. And I think I know many Republican leaders who dislike that as well. They want a party based on philosophy and not race, and they are troubled by the racial split in the party.
Well, now we have a black president, and now we have a leading contender with the GOP coming up. It looks like Ben Carson has high rating points. So that's interesting, isn't it?
How interesting, yes. And I just heard an analysis from Dr. Barney Wiseman from Mississippi State was talking about Dr. Carson might be the modern day Jimmy Carter, because he's just well liked and he's a nice guy. He's above a lot of the Republican fray, but if you look at his positions, he's very Republican, and he took on Barack Obama early on in his administration, so he's popular.
Do you think going forward we'll see more black Republicans?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's an effort among the party leadership to do that, but they have a hard road to toe on that one.
And the same with white Democrats. I mean, do you see that increasing over time?
As the parties, I think that would be their goals to do those things. Yes. And
Okay, we're going to take a break.
Sure.
And we'll be right back. David Hampton after this.
We'll be right back with more of Nightique after these messages.
Ingalls Shipbuilding has pioneered the development and production of technologically advanced, highly capable warships for the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps for more than 75 years. Ingalls is Mississippi's largest manufacturing employer, and today Ingalls has an immediate need for more than 200 electricians at our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Apply today at www.buildyourcareer.com or call 888-935-1507.
This is important news for people who have suffered serious infections after hip or knee replacement surgeries or open heart surgery. Your infection may be the result of a device used in the operating room. If you suffered an infection that led to hospitalization or surgery after your hip or knee replacement or after open heart surgery, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now.
When you are looking to further your education, there's only one university that towers above the rest: Jackson State University. Jackson State University is one of the leading universities in research, technology, and innovation, graduating more than 1,300 students annually and a consistent growth in revenue. Jackson State University is ranked #1 amongst the HBCUs in research and development. Make the right choice, the one choice. One Jackson State University, changing lives one student at a time.
And now back to more Nightique.
We're talking to David Hampton from many years at the Clarion Ledger, 36 years, right?
36.
And now a political writer, a consultant, right? And thank you for coming in and talking about the recent election. Okay, the Initiative 42, that failed. Tell us about that.
It was the most interesting thing of this election.
What did
and
it
the most
mean?
important thing of this election.
What was it all about? Can you explain exactly what this was?
This was about education funding. In 1997, the legislature approved a law that set up a basic formula for funding Mississippi public schools. And it was based on the fact that to provide equitable funding throughout the state. Other states were being sued because some districts with a low tax base could not provide the same quality of schools that districts could that were in a higher property tax base. So Mississippi was really progressive in creating the Mississippi Adequate Education Program, which is a very complicated formula which decides how much money each school district gets in the state. It pays teachers, it provides for special programs, and it's pretty comprehensive. The only problem is the legislature's only funded it twice in its history. It's only been fully funded twice. And it's become a cause for education supporters to do that. The fact that it's not funded means that since 2008 anyway, when they had the economic turndown, teachers' positions were lost. We don't have art and music in schools. A lot of the basic things that some schools have, and especially schools that have a lot of poor children, it costs more, and it makes it very difficult. So a group of education supporters actually went to the people with a referendum to change the Constitution to try to force the legislature to follow the law that they passed in '97. The reason that you can't do that anyway is because Mississippi Constitution is very weak on language about providing for public schools. In 1960, when after Brown versus Board of Education, the legislature changed the Constitution to give them more authority not to fund schools after integration was inevitable in the state. So it was racially motivated back then. So the group went to the people and got put on the ballot this time to change the language in the Constitution, which would have allowed people to go to court if the legislature didn't fund education. And it became a very contentious and bitter campaign in the last couple of months, and it failed yesterday.
So basically, we're still right where we were.
Right, we were right where we are.
So nothing has really changed in that regard.
Except that my fear is that it will actually embolden what I see is a move against public education in the state. I think public education is under attack in Mississippi and has been for the last few years. I think you will see an effort to change the adequate education program. I think you'll see a move toward more charter schools and for vouchers and for things that would actually damage opportunity for education in the state. I'm very concerned about it.
You know, you would think some schools, especially in the Delta perhaps, which in very, very poor communities, they're the ones that suffer the most from something like this, where there's no tax base to support the schools.
Right, and that's what the adequate education bill was designed to do, is to provide those districts the support they needed regardless of their tax base.
Right.
Even a very rich district like Madison County suffered from cuts in MAEP in 2008, 2009, but they had a fund to go to make up for that. They could tax more, and a lot of communities can't do that. So you see the inequity that's resulted from it.
Right. Now let's switch to the national scene. We have the anti-politician rising right now. It
Right.
seems like the Trumps and
Right.
Ben Carter too, for that matter, guys who've never been in politics, but they've been successful in other walks of life. Now they're stepping forward, and they have popular support. It seems like there's a groundswell of support because people are tired of the same old that we've had for so many years. The politicians that are out there that are well, is that it? What's your take on this?
There has been an anti-government, established politics movement for many years. I mean, Ronald Reagan ran against Washington. He put the modern Republican Party on that was the playbook. that you run against Washington. And so you're seeing that to the nth degree right now, especially in the Republican Party now, where you have the growth of the Tea Party, the very conservative wing of the party, which will turn out and vote in primaries. That's who they're playing to now. That's who they're pandering to now with some of the crazy proposal you hear, like deporting 11 million people from the United States. No, that's not going to happen. Can't happen. Wouldn't happen. But you see the actually pandering to that anti-establishment, anti-Washington mood among the very conservative ring of the Republican Party. Are they viable candidates? I don't think so. America's really in the middle. If you look at the elections, the Democrats, you'll have your far left candidates, and then you'll have your far right candidates in the Republican primaries, and they will run to those far interest areas. But to be elected, you have to move back toward the middle, and I think you'll see that.
So with the Trumps out there, and then on the other side, the Bernie Sanders out there on the left side, what do you think? I mean, what do you think?
Neither one of them are viable candidates to be president.
And what do you think? Well, eventually, what are we going to see? Who's going to emerge?
My personal guess is of course Hillary Clinton for the Democrats, and I think you will see a Rubio. Mm-hmm. Likely somebody like Rubio or Kasich or even Bush is still possible.
You know, the thing about Bush to me is, I mean, even though his poll numbers are so low, and of course he's got the baggage of the prior administrations, right. But on the other hand, he has been a successful governor, right. and he's been, from the standpoint of how he presents himself, he is presidential to me. I mean, more so than some of these guys.
And he's acceptable to non-Republican.
And he's acceptable to non-Republicans.
He's acceptable to moderates.
He's in the middle.
He's in the middle.
Kind of so, you know.
Well, yeah.
And so.
And that's why he's having so much trouble now. He's having to run against Donald Trump, saying whatever Donald Trump wants to say the last minute from the next, and he's having to run against that.
The thing about it is, just as a layperson myself, you know, you look at somebody like Trump, and you know he's been successful, you know, relatively so, I guess you could say, very successful in business and such, but. And he's got these bold statements, and people want to embrace change so badly that they're willing to look past the things that he says that are so ridiculous.
Well, that's the classic political tack that you see, and you're going to see it in Mississippi from every race, from constable to the President of the United States. You tell people what they want to hear.
Well, exactly.
And that's and some of them go a little too far with it, as he does. I mean, right. Donald Trump's telling them all the things he's going to do that would cost trillions and millions and billions and trillions of dollars, yet he says he's going to cut taxes. No, that's not going to happen.
And then foreign
realistic.
Policy, for God's sakes. Yeah, I mean, when you think about what blunders we could get into there right. with somebody with no experience who's at the helm, you know. Right. It's kind of scary, really. I mean, but
you know what you're seeing now is not real. Right. The early debates, I mean, there are absolutely no
and then
substance to it.
On the other side, the Bernie Sanders situation is, you know, that's scary in itself too.
And the same. I mean, you have look at the interesting. You have someone like Donald Trump getting so much attention, and someone like Bernie Sanders, who is a self-avowed socialist, getting so much attention.
Yeah.
And a lot for the same reasons on that side, just right. because of frustration of that wing of the party.
Exactly.
Flocking to him.
You're exactly right. That's where it is right now, on the outer edges. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see how the middle right. manifests itself.
And you've seen that with every candidate. Once they get the nomination, they start moving back toward the right. middle to some reasonableness.
Well, David, thank you for being with us, and we'd like to invite you back again and give us some insight on politics as we go forward with the show.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, David Hampton, and thank you. We'll be back after this.
We'll be right back with more of Nightique after these messages.
This is our Gray's Box. It's a great way to snack. Fresh, tasty, and created using only the best ingredients. Choose from our range of over 90 delicious snacks. We'd like to invite you to try a hand-picked box for free. Go to grays.com and we'll send a free box directly to your office or home. It may even help you keep your hand out of the cookie jar.
Go to grays.com and enter the code GRAYS34 for a free box.
Grays.com. Snacking reinvented.
This is important news for people who have suffered serious infections after hip or knee replacement surgeries or open heart surgery. Your infection may be the result of a device used in the operating room. If you suffered an infection that led to hospitalization or surgery after your hip or knee replacement or after open heart surgery, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now.
When you are looking to further your education, there's only one university that towers above the rest, Jackson State University. Jackson State University is one of the leading universities in research, technology, and innovation, graduating more than 1,300 students annually and a consistent growth in revenue. Jackson State University is ranked #1 amongst the HBCUs in research and development. Make the right choice, the one choice, one Jackson State University, changing lives one student at a time.
Ingalls Shipbuilding has pioneered the development and production of technologically advanced, highly capable warships for the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps for more than 75 years. Ingalls is Mississippi's largest manufacturing employer, and today Ingalls has an immediate need for more than 200 electricians at our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Apply today at www.buildyourcareer.com or call 888-935-1507.
And now back to more Nightique.
Well, we'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Woody Woodward, also known as Woodrow. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we've got you categorized as a postmodernist. And I know you've worked in the field of medicine and you've worked in the field of applied physics. And those are interesting areas. The applied physics is something I want to talk to you about. Let's just jump right into it. Quantum physics, very interesting topic. What is that?
Very confusing topic, not to mention quantum gravity, which makes quantum physics look like tinker toys, more or less, but it is a difficult concept to grasp where there are more dimensions than we're used to dealing with. Things do not follow the laws of physics as we know them. The things that we discuss as far as atoms and their components are all theoretical. Nobody's ever seen a proton or a photon or an electron, but we mathematically calculate these things occur. We measure events with very powerful equipment. CERN's particle accelerator is 26 miles long, I believe, to shoot a photon or electron around and watch what happens mathematically. It's not a graphic representation.
You know, when you think about the concept of time, and physics plays into that.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, Bell Laboratories early on in the 60s did some series that explained the relativity of time versus distance. And if you could approach the speed of light, time would stop, basically. I mean, you would be in equilibrium. You would be one with time, so more or less. It's a very broad thing to grasp.
Interesting. So is this where the concept of time travel, for example, comes into play when quantum physics is discussed?
Sure. Say if you ventured into a wormhole, you would not experience a time coefficient thing. It would be an instantaneous jump, nanoseconds more.
Okay, now that you brought that up, tell us about the concept of a black hole.
Well, a black hole is a magnet, more or less, that draws anything within its grasp into it. Although it's not a magnet drawing metal, it will draw in light energy of any sort, matter, and it absorbs it. It takes it in. It's like imploding matter into itself and making it smaller.
You would think that the whole universe would get sucked into the black hole.
They do.
I mean, let's hope that doesn't happen.
I don't think ours is the only universe.
Okay, explain.
I think we are a very, very small portion. We're just understanding now how infinitely small we are. We could be a speck of dust in the grand scheme of things, you know.
And we wouldn't even realize it.
Yes, we're, you know.
It's really it's quite bewildering to think of all these huge ideas, you know. But it is true.
And we evolve, we adapt. It's forced evolution. Whatever stimulus we're presented with, we will adapt to it. If we get too hot, we'll move to a cooler spot. If we stay in the sun too many years, we'll develop a darker skin, that sort of thing. But I've had some theological talks, and I have no problem with the creation theory. I think this is not just random, and I take umbrage with Stephen Hawking's idea that God just rolls the dice.
It seems like the further you go with things like quantum physics, the closer you come to the concept that there was a creator, because they sort of link up in that final analysis. Now,
absolutely.
I want you to promise us you're going to come back and talk to us more about this on a future edition.
I'd love to.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
That's Woodrow. He's our postmodernist here on Nightique, and we'll be seeing you next time on the next edition of Nightique.
Join us every weeknight statewide for Nightique with Edward St. Pé. If you have suggestions for guests or want to be on the show yourself, drop us a line at www.nightique.com. I'm your announcer, Jim Pollard. Good night from all of us at Nightique.